Hey everybody, it's Randall back with another video. I'm going to start off by talking about a movie that came out, I want to say, maybe around 1954, 55-ish. It was called The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Uh, Starred John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart. And Jimmy Stewart is being interviewed by a newspaper, a national newspaper, talking about his story, how he shot this noted Old West villain named Liberty Valance. What made the story unusual was that Stewart's character was what they call a tenderfoot. He wasn't somebody that was particularly known for using a gun, but yet he took down the Old West's most noted gunslinger. And in the course of telling the story, Jimmy Stewart's character owns up to the fact that he never shot him. He was still too scared when it came down to it. The man that really shot him was his friend, was the friend who Jimmy Stewart's character, who was played by John Wayne. And the reporter ends up wrapping up the interview. He's getting ready to leave, and Jimmy Stewart's character is confused. He's like, where are you going? Why are we entering this interview so quickly? Aren't you going to print the story? And in one of the most famous lines ever, the reporter looks back at him and says, when the legend becomes fact, print the legend. And that's where we are today. That is where we are. You see, I've heard people say that we're erasing history with statues. But we're not. All right? If anything, we're erasing myth because we don't teach history in this country. We don't. We act like we do. We throw something out there that we call U.S. history, but it's not really U.S. history. It's U.S. myth. And when, as they say, when the legend becomes fact, you print the legend. That's what we've done for a couple hundred years in this country. We attributed the ride of Israel Bissell to Paul Revere. Paul Revere, yeah, he went and warned people, but he was more sent to warn the elites and the town leaders. Israel Bissell is the man that actually took the ride of Paul Revere and actually went from town to town. That was Israel Bissell. That wasn't Paul Revere. We act like everything was so hunky-dory after we freed ourselves from Great Britain. No, that's not how it worked. In fact, as late as 1797, you had American citizens that wanted to reapply to be a colony again just because there was so much strife and discord in this country. There were people that were afraid that something like what was happening in France was going to come here. Yeah, that was myth that everything was hunky dory. It wasn't. And I could really probably point out maybe a couple hundred more examples, but I want to keep this video short. When I look at it, just in my honest opinion, when it comes to how history is taught in this country, it's 48% myth. It is 48% pure BS. Doing the math, that gives us 96%, which leaves 4%. Just 4% of what children learn from kindergarten to 12th grade about the history of this country is actually true. We teach them myth, we teach them BS. It's once they get into college, and they start taking history courses. That's when they realize the true face of America. That's not all pure as driven snow as we are led to believe. They learn about the St. Louis, a ship that had Jewish refugees who we refused entry, who ended up going back to Germany and dying in concentration camps. They don't teach you about Japanese internment. before college. They don't teach you how Jefferson Davis wanted to deregulate the Confederate Army, turn it over to Mosby's Rangers, and basically unleash guerrilla warfare on the North, which would have extended the Civil War probably another 15 or 20 years. You don't learn about that in AP history. You learn myth. And I see all of what's going on with the statues, getting back to that, and some statues getting attacked that maybe shouldn't be. It's because we don't teach history in this country. Okay? We don't teach history. What's going on with the tearing down of the statues is not an act of terrorism. It is basically a byproduct of our systemic failure for over 2 centuries to properly teach history to our youth. So they're going to tear down and attack and vandalize statues that have nothing to do with their message. They just see a statue. Okay? It is our failure, the failure as us, the older generation, that we never fought to make that change, to actually teach history in history classes. If you want to teach our children about history, you want to teach the protesters about history, send them to a library. Give them books. Don't depend on just Wikipedia. Teach them the good and the bad. Don't lie to them. Don't tell them that the Civil War was strictly about slavery when it's just as much to do about states' rights. And by the way, go ahead and teach the part where Mexico became an ally of the Confederacy and actually was supplying them with arms and men as well. That you can look that up right now as soon as you're done watching this video. Mexico played a huge part in aiding the Confederacy during the Civil War. Something else you don't learn about in any AP history class. So that's it. That's my little spiel for right now. I hope everybody has a great day. Look, try to think positive. I know it's a world of negative, but we got to fight for the positive. In any event, have a good day and a better tomorrow.